Click the link in the description for your free AMSOIL catalog. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our friends. The Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Search for them on Facebook. Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Search for them on Facebook. The historic Lancaster Motel for the ultimate Eastern trail riding adventure. Crane's Snowmobile Museum at 172 Main Street in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Vintage Snowmobile Club of America Quarterly Magazine. The Bridge Street Garage Racing Team, the house racing team of the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast. The New Hampshire Snowmobile Museum at Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire. And lastly, if you decide to advertise with the Vintage Snowmobile Podcast, this could be your advertising message. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here. I have a robust lineup of vintage snowmobile entertainment on tap for you tonight, including some live guests waiting for us in the waiting area. We'll be with them in just a moment. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to make a comment. Let me know where you're viewing this from and whether you are a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. Now, to our first-time viewers, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a good time with us tonight and that you decide to join us here each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We simulcast to 8 different places across Facebook and YouTube. So wherever you're viewing this right now, circle back in 1 week's time and we'll have something waiting for you. To our regular viewers who are here week after week and season after season, you guys are the ones who make this possible. We thank you so very, very much for that. Let's take a couple of quick comments. We'll bring our guests on right after that. We've got Mark Volbrecht weighing in. We've also got someone on Facebook saying from Eland, Wisconsin. They're saying good evening. They're from Eland, Wisconsin. And Dave Lowry says looks good and sounds good in Alberta, Canada. Wonderful. Well, good. It sounds like everything is working properly. Let's bring our guests on and turn on the microphones. And yes, everyone's in the house. How we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Great. Got some snow on the ground, ready to get the trails open in Wisconsin.
Wonderful. And Rob, it's wonderful to have you back. I know you've been away for a couple of weeks, but it is wonderful to see your face. Wonderful to have you back.
I'm going to have to be taking hauls all night long before I don't start coughing. But I'm here.
Sure. No worries at all. Cool deal. We also appreciate the Santa hat as well. And Jeff and I have Santa hats too. We're going to be putting on a little later in the podcast. But there we go. Yeah, and let me put mine here too. Sweet. In fact, what we may do is when we roll the first video, is I think while the video is rolling, I'm going to take the headphones on, put the hat on, and Jeff is welcome to as well. But yeah, I'd like to welcome Jeff to the podcast. Tell us, Jeff, a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Well, I'm an avid snowmobiler. I started this back when I was 8 years old. I've been involved with snowmobiling all along. I can tell you a little bit more of a Christmas story as the time goes on here, but I run a couple of websites also, and I try to stay involved with snowmobiling as much as possible, even up to grooming and take care of trails and things like that. One of my sites is snowtracks.com. I'd like everybody to try to check it out. What it is it's a site that has all types of trail conditions, and we handle about 9 states. California, people don't realize that they're snowmobiling out in California.
Wow.
In the Sierras and things like that. We don't have much out east, and we'd like to pick some more people up out east. And the way we do it is that we make you a reporter, your club a reporter, and then also in that area we have that you can get advertised in that area, and we pay back to the club. We work it out with the club, but we need to have a page so that we can support our motherboard systems and things like that. But that's just a small one to do. And then I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm the administrator of dotalk.com.
Yeah, nice. It's very cool. That's a great page. I've been on there a few times. It's a great resource.
You're a busy man, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. My dad always told me, he says, when you retire, and I've been retired for about 1.5 years, you get busier. So that's what's going on.
Cool deal. Cool deal. So let's take a look at our menu here. The first thing we're going to talk about, item number 2, is we've got an interview that you did with Lyle Forsgren. Do you want to set that up for us? Tell us what we're about to look at.
Well, we're going to start with the Tripar story and how we ended up having Lyle at the reunion.
Sure.
The Tripar story started at 3 guys got together down in southern Wisconsin, actually over by Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Got together, and Herb Gall was one of them, and Jack, and I can't quite remember the other. I'm remembering all this. You got to remember, I was like 14 when this thing started.
Sure.
So they got together and they started their company, and they really couldn't get a name for their company, and it was to deal with fuel oil and stuff like that, and gasoline and oils, and they were buying direct, and it was being shipped into a rail yard, and in the rail yard, they wouldn't put their names on the bills of lading because there was a little confusion going back and forth of who was really in charge or what was going on. So the German dock worker says, we got to put something on here. So he saw 3 as tri and partners as par. So that's where Tripar came from. It was 3 partners.
Tripar, yeah.
Yeah. So after a while, the other 2 guys fell off, and Herb Gall kept it going, and he ran it into the 40s. This is, like I said, and started in the 30s. He ran it in the 40s and was involved with auto repair and, of course, a gas station. Then it grew bigger as it went on along. Later on in the 70s, he sold it off to his kids. And one was Ken, and the other one was Steve. And what they did is they made them more like convenience stores or stores where you could get, Mercury outboards, things like that. So that's where it kind of all came back together as Tripar. But the story of this reunion coming back starts with Dan Giannotti. He, around 2015, he started doing the legwork to find out what is this Tripar team. And the reason it intrigued him so much is that he was racing at the time, and he went to Goodwin's down in Illinois to do some work on his race sled. And in the corner was a Mercury 76 liquid cooled Mercury. And he kept looking at it, and it said Tripar on the hood. So that intrigued him to start looking. So then he finally started contacting some people. And Jeff Gall is the son of Ken, who owned it. And Jeff is the main backboard of this, who's gone out and promoted this and brought this back. But without Dan Giannotti doing all the background legwork to find out all the racers that came out of Tripar, which made it the largest independent race crew.
Yeah.
So in 2020, they decided to bring everybody together. I couldn't make that actual reunion, but my brother was there, and they brought some sleds in. Mr. Burns, Chuck Burns, was one of the first drivers. He restored a 76, and all the drivers that were there actually signed it. And you'll see the pictures of that as we go through the podcast.
Yeah, I think let me pull that up here. Is this the image you were talking about?
Yeah, yes. And the Chuck Burns is the one in the front there. Behind him is Jeff Gall, the owner of Tripar right now. And the other two are brother-in-laws to Chuck, Dan and Jeff. So, I mean, or Mark, excuse me. But, yeah, that's the sled that he restored. And you see the signatures on the hood. That hood has been signed by every driver that was a Tripar driver that was there for the reunion. Now, we had 3 reunions already. So leading into the next interview is that, this is 50 years of the Merc Twister. So what we want to do is we want to advance this and bring it up. So in the last reunion we had, we found out a little bit more about the Twister. And I think you've got this interview set up with Lyle Forsgren, who was the guy who actually started with the Mercury and was brought into Mercury. A little background, he worked for Boeing. Then he went to Rupp, and he talked about that, Mercury had snowmobiles, but they weren't racing snowmobiles. They had the Lightning and the Hurricane and things like that. And, of course, the 250 lead sled.
Sure.
And Kiefer built those, and he built, everything Mercury built was built, indestructible. It was built heavy motors and everything like that. And Kiefer said, I'm not number one now, but someday I will be number one. So they brought in this Lyle, and let's play the interview. And he tells us about how he ended up at Mercury, that he was put in a room and he was told to build this Mercury Snow Twister. And I'll go back into the story, the rest of how Tripar evolved after the interview.
Sure. And like you said, this man, Lyle Forsgren, was the catalyst, the designer of the famous or infamous, depending what team you're on, Snow Twister. He was the guy behind that.
He was the guy behind it. He brought it in, and that's where this all stems back to. If we didn't have the Mercury Snow Twister come out, and actually he was working on this in 72 already.
Wow.
So, and when he went to Rupp before that, he never even seen a snowmobile. He worked on airplanes.
Wow.
So this whole thing came back around, and he rode some snowmobiles on the grass, as he'll tell you in the interview. And then I kind of chuckled with him when I was interviewing him. I says, well, you kind of had a room where nobody could come in. He goes, no, there was actually a room built inside the factory that nobody was allowed in that room except who he let in there to work on that sled.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
It's very interesting. And, like I say, I'll revert back to how the Tripar race drivers all came about and like that after the interview, if you want to.
Yeah, let's take a look at that interview.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'm at the Tripar reunion. Got a little rain coming down here, but I wanted to interview the guy that's the background of the Mercury Snow Twister, Lyle Forsgren. Can you tell us, Lyle, when you got into snowmobiling?
March of 71. I went to work at Rough Industries in Ohio. And at that time, I had never even seen a snowmobile. And they let me take one for a ride on the grass. And then they made me an offer, so I stayed there for a year. And then in the fall of 72, I went to work at Mercury. The objective was designing a racing snowmobile for Mercury, and I designed the 400 Snow Twister.
Like the one that's right here that was Chuck Burns' grass track. And in your speech that you gave at the show here today, you talked about that there kind of was a wall between regular production sleds and what you were building.
There wasn't kind of a wall. There was a real wall between us, and the door was locked. And very seldom would I even get into the snowmobile department, and they couldn't come over to advanced research. And
So your total objection was to build the Mercury Snow Twister, correct?
That was the object, and that's what I did. And my name is on every part of that snowmobile.
Super. Well, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You gave me a racing career that I just enjoyed. And like today at the reunion, we brought as many people as we could together back over the last 45, 50 years. So did you have a good day today?
This is a lot more than I expected. Yes, it was a good day.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your inspiration on the Mercury Snow Twister. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So that is, I have to say, incredibly cool to actually lay eyes on the man who was the catalyst and designer of that snow twister that did so incredibly well in 1976.
Yeah, well, and that was the liquid cooled in 76, but he actually started, building this snow twister in 72 with no place really to test it or do anything with it. And he worked on it, and he brought in the Hayeses to do testing and a couple other people to do testing with him. We had a guy over here south of me, Jack Weinberger, did some testing. He had a rider by the name of Dean Abendroth, which I'm a really close friend with. But Dean, he was a heck of a racer. But the only two times I can really remember having fun with him is that one time he won a large snowmobile race in the community down here. And when they got done with racing, they found out he was too young. He was only 14 years old. And he beat all the guys. So, and then second time he got disqualified. He was running in a race down in Brownsville, Wisconsin, testing for Mercury with a 400. And that was the year that you could spin the throttle around and pull it from the front with your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And in the rules, there was nothing that said that they could do that. So after he won that with the Mercury, they disqualified him too. So, I mean, really? There's a lot of, in our area, because I was only 20 miles from the plant where these things were being made.
Wow.
So, but, there's so many people that were involved in it. And Mercury, like I say, they did some testing and stuff, and we'll talk to Doug Hayes here after a while. And then Mercury actually came up with a plan when the racing started to support their people after the 73-74 season. There's a picture in there also that shows a Stock D in Ironwood, Michigan. There's 160 entries. The last final race, that's the picture, right? That picture, that's supposedly the finals picture. And the guy out front right there, it's Tom Wehner. And Lyle Forsgren looked at this picture and he says, when I saw this back in Ironwood, the first weekend of the USSA racing, I knew I did my job. Because every one of those sleds in there is a Mercury in Stock D.
That's amazing.
So that picture, lives on. But again, he had the inspiration to do it and get it done. They had to build 1,000 sleds in that day. So they took off like heck in 72 to get them ready for the 73-74 season to build that 400D stocker. And they actually had to use Kohler motors. But the Kohler motor was all spec'd by Lyle and Calhoun was their motor specialist.
Sure.
They're the ones that put the motor together to run it and stuff. So going back a little bit now, we know where the twister came from. Back to Tripar, there was a draftsman by the name of Bob Hoffman, Bubba we called him. He lived in Cedarburg and worked up in Oshkosh. Well, he was so in love with snowmobiling that he bought his Mercury Lightning snowmobile from Ken Gall down at Tripar. So he was working back and forth, but his real love was to work on snowmobiles. So he transferred from the outboard situation to the snowmobile deal. And the guy was totally snow twister. I mean, the guy had a Pinto. There's some pictures of it running around that was painted up like a snow twister.
That's cool.
And he tried to pull snowmobile trailers with it too. So, but again, going back to Tripar is that Bubba was friends with Denny Hughes, and Denny Hughes worked with Mercury on testing and racing. Denny Hughes is out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Well, Chuck Burns knew Denny, and they knew Bubba, and they were talking one night in the bar or whatever, or at Parnell's place. And Chuck had a Polaris order to race, just Chuck Burns. And he really didn't think it was going to be that great of a sled. So then he decided he'd go with, try to get a Mercury. So Denny Hughes hooked Chuck Burns up with Bubba. Bubba took him down to see Ken Gall. Ken Gall, they talked as everything. He says, well, what do you want to do with this 400 sled? It's really kind of a race. He says, so Chuck Burns says, I want to race it. So they made a deal, and that's when the first driver came aboard in that 73-74 season. And Chuck raced it on the ovals. Also, he grass dragged the heck out of it. And that's kind of when we met him. We were in the grass drag, and we were campaigning for Skidoo at that year. We were running Skidoo Free Air. And we were racing against him. We could compete. The Mercury was in the 400 class was just unbeatable, even on the grass.
Wow.
So as we seen Bubba there, Bubba comes over to me and my brother, and he says, you guys AMSOIL race? And I said, yeah, we've got some, my brother's talking to him, not me. We've got some championships down at Milwaukee Mile. We've placed second down there and a couple other deals and stuff like that. Well, that summer, I won the grass championships for junior class in the SWSRA. My brother did real well, too, and he worked out through there. But we started talking, and Bubba says, well, how would you guys like to run for Tripar? Campaign Mercury next year to run for Tripar. Well, that didn't really do me any good because I had to run a 250 at being a junior yet. Except in the SWSRA, I could run a 340 free air. Yeah. But anyways, my brother, we watched what was going on in Alaska and said, yeah, we got to have a Mercury. So we picked up this Mercury in late October, first part of November, and the last grass drag, a big state championship grass drag, was in Amro, Wisconsin. And I was behind in points to win the championship for the junior contention. I had to finish first, and the person I was racing against had to finish sixth. Well, guess what? The Mercury proved out. I won the race. They finished sixth. I won the championship.
There you go.
I came out with 2 championships back in that time there.
Yeah.
But going back, so that's how we met Chuck Burns, and that's how we got involved with Tripar. And we watched the Alaskan races, and we said, we really need to have, not just a 340. We need to have a 440 to be in the campaign, the campaign for USSA. Well, we ended up getting the 440, did some testing up on Ironwood, and the 440 just wasn't panning out. So Ken Gall says, I'll help you guys out. And Bubba, of course, Bubba was engineering, we're working with his son. We'll build a 440 mod so we can run the Snow Pro and the Hiawatha Cups and things like that. So that's kind of where that went. But as Tripar developed, there also was another racer that came on that year in the 74-75 was Rex Meelan. And he was very good at racing too. So, but again, going back to this Dan Giannotti, he did all the background and followed the drivers. And then when 76 came, it was hard to get sleds. So Tripar had a whole load of these liquid cooled 76 sleds. So like TJ Patrick was on one. He had 2 from Tripar, and there's just a whole list of people that ended up working with Ken Gall to get this Tripar race team, and it was independence. The Stankies, Roxanne Stanky, a female, she ran against the men, and she annihilated them. The other Mercury thing, we talked about Denny Hughes. Denny Hughes was racing. Denny Hughes had a style of racing that was like nobody else's. He had a half sit, half stand on his race sled, and for some reason, he could really make that sled handle. But the thing between the 74s and 75s and the 76 liquid cool when it came out were totally different. You had to work on the 74 and 75 to get it around the corner because it was more of a regular type snowmobile.
Sure.
But 76, my brother had come up with a stud pattern on his 76 liquid cool. I could pretty much hold that thing to the bar, go into the corner at Eagle River, and put it into like a power slide and come out of the corner. And I won't share the trick because we played the gray side on everything. The rule books had to be played, and everything had to be aligned and done as best we could so that we can campaign as independents as privateers.
Yeah.
So, but again, going back to Tripar, so Tripar grew as independents. And Jeff Gall, who's this collection's about, he finally wanted to know more about it. And his Dan Giannotti, like I said, studied 5 years of all the drivers and brought us all together in 2020 to a reunion. And the reunions have taken off. So now we've gone to the next step. We want to bring in all drivers from the 60s and 70s, bring back a reunion. Now, like the last reunion we had, a guy by the name of Terry Dorschner out of New London, Wisconsin, was a championship rider, gold bibber. He came down there. He says, I can't believe this. I haven't seen you guys in 40 years, 50 years. So we started talking and everything. He got so inspired, he went back to New London, Wisconsin, and traced his liquid mercury down and picked it up. And he just is ecstatic about it. I mean,
wow.
This whole thing is just kind of blossomed. So we need to take it to the next step. So we took it to the Hall of Fame for a year, and we're going to put together a reunion on August 19th, probably with starting at like 10:30 in the morning with a lunch, and then have a little program. We're going to try to bring in some Mercury drivers and people to talk about what inspired them, not just Mercury, but inspired them in racing. And as a racer, you get that feeling when you're on the track like nothing else. It's there. If you've never raced, you know what that is when you're going down that straightaway at 90, 100 miles an hour, and people, and you're just pushing. I mean, I used to follow guys around the racetrack and learn about them so that I could beat them the next time.
Yeah, watch the nuances of what they're doing and everything.
Right.
Sure.
So you want to go ahead and do your announcements? We can talk a little more. I kind of stole the show. I'm sorry, but
no, it's all good. And you're right. We're just getting started. We've got a lot more on this with some interviews and everything, but we are up to the point for some announcements. But before we do, I want to take a few quick comments that have come in. Reese Fleury says, good evening from Tupper Lake, New York. He's a regular viewer. We've got David from Alaska Railroad saying hello to Mike, Jeff, and Rob. Loves the Santa hat. Cool deal. And then and I think Jeff's got a Santa hat too, which he's welcome to put on at any time. We've got Stacy and Art Fosler, regular viewers from Platkill, New York, says everything looks and sounds good. David from Alaska Railroad says he'd love to own a liquid twister. It's on his to own list. And then, okay, here we go. David from Alaska Railroad says, love your hat too. He says, come on, Jeff, you're left. So we're getting some encouragement for Jeff to put his on. Cool deal. Here we go. It's officially Christmas time, everybody. Wait, is that do I hear Santa on the roof?
Well, mine's kind of a gnome hat, so I hope I don't get any bad emojis going.
Yeah. So David from Alaska Road has a question for Jeff. Did you ever get a chance to meet his hero, Bob Eastman, who was a Polaris racer?
Actually, I met Bob Eastman down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Our 340 Skidoo Free Air was run by a guy by the name of Buck Mills out of Ripon, Wisconsin. And we finished second in the class, and me and his boy, John Mills, were carrying the trophy out, and Bob Eastman stopped, and he says, I can't believe you guys are taking that big trophy home. So I did get to meet him and get to talk to him. Yeah, he was one of the people to look up to during our racing careers.
Yeah, I bet, for sure. Absolutely legendary racer.
Well, quick story, Jeff. Quick story, Jeff. Back in 1979, I raced an SRX in A-stock class. But in the mod class, I raced a 76 340 SRX. And one time at a race in Owen Sound, I lined up for the semifinals. I had 4 Mercs on one side and 5 on the other side. I was the first one in the corner 1, but coming out of corner 2, they're all ahead of me. Corner 3, I was the first one going in. Coming out of it, everyone. So at the end of the race, I ended up getting a 4th because it was a straightaway where the checkered flag was. So I got a 4th, made it to the final. And the team beside me was out of Eagle River, a Skidoo team. And I said, what am I going to do to beat them? And they said, do what we did. And they had a Merc Twister painted yellow that one of their kids raced. He says, that's the only way you're going to beat the Twister in the corner is probably one.
Yeah.
You can't beat them, join them.
They were engineered to go around the track. And, even the handlebars were offset. Even the handlebars were offset. It was just on an unbelievable made sled. In fact, Mark Valbright is listening. Mark came up one weekend, and my brother wasn't racing on Sunday. And I told Mark, I says, Mark, you can run this sled today, stuff. And he goes, well, yeah. Well, how do you go into the corner? I said, well, you just keep it pinned to the bar. Well, he was like the first one in the corner, but I'd never seen him come out because he went right over the fence.
Oh, no. Wow. And let's see, we've got Darren Bradley saying good evening from Sudbury, Ontario. And then we've got Paul Hall saying hello from Canada. Cool deal. So let's get into some announcements here real quick. We're going to talk about AMSOIL for a second. I'm going to put you full screen, Rob, if you wanted to talk about AMSOIL and the special of the week.
Okay. Can we talk about a question somebody asked us a couple of weeks ago?
Absolutely.
One person asked us a question. He said, I would like to run a high quality oil, but the manufacturer says I got to run their expensive oil. Well, AMSOIL came out with a system called, how did I get this up right here? Freedom to run. You don't have to run what the manufacturer makes. You have the choice to pick whatever oil you want. And AMSOIL came out with a program. If you got a brand new machine and you run AMSOIL, on the back of the brochure, there's a thing where you fill out, and AMSOIL is going to give you a 2-year warranty on your brand new machine. If your machine's 1 year old and you switched over to AMSOIL, AMSOIL is going to give you a free 1-year warranty on it.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And the promotion AMSOIL has this week is by becoming a preferred customer, you get to buy the product directly from AMSOIL. So you save 25% on the product. And if you buy $100 worth of product normally, AMSOIL gives you $5 towards your bank. And you can use it towards gifts, coupons, or whatever you want at the end of the year, or at the end of the year to pay your renewal. It's $30 a year to renew it. So this month, they're offering you double, $10. So if you order $100 worth of AMSOIL, you're going to get $10 into your bank towards hats, clothing, or pay your renewal the following year. Just a little promotion AMSOIL's got coming out to make it cost efficient for you to buy the AMSOIL product directly from them. And if you want to know how to get a catalog or how to buy the product, get a hold of Mike.
Yeah, for sure. There are links in the description, and like you said too, that preferred customer program is an amazing value. And you're the one that told me this a while back, but it's very similar to a Costco membership. For just $10, you join the program, and on that first order of you joining, you get those discounts right away. The deepest possible discounts you can get from AMSOIL, plus free shipping on orders over $100. So on your first order, in most cases, you're going to save much more than your $10 investment. So it's an incredible value. And if you're curious about joining the preferred customer program, there are links in the description to get you started. And we'd love to have you join us. So thank you so much for that, Rob. We appreciate that. And also, in the interest of announcements here, let me pull them up. I've got some people who have sent me questions and images and so forth this week. If you watched us last week, we had Valdi Stephenson on. He shared this image with us. This is an image of none other than Gilles Villeneuve back in the day. So great look into yesteryear. Got to love that footwear he's got on. I think there's a serious platform on those shoes there. And then we've got Cindy Lutez. I don't know if it's Lutz or Lutez Loudermilk, but she says she's got a 1977 Panther snowmobile. She's wondering if we could tell her how much it's worth. She believes the engine's frozen up, but the seat is in perfect condition. So if anyone has any thoughts as to what the value of something like that might be, please leave a comment in the comment section. Cindy is monitoring that, and she would be looking for that information. And we thank you for sharing that for her to use. Now, Jim Dick also checked in. He said he's looking for a late 60s ski boost. If we know of anyone who's wanting to sell, again, please leave a comment in the comment section. Jim will be monitoring that, and we'll reach out to you to discuss that with you. Also, we've got Scott Langford wanting to know if anyone has information on either the Snowhawk snowmobiles or the Roloflex snowmobiles. Now, I'm going to pose a question in here too. Roloflex, is that what the Scorpion suspensions were, or was that something else? Rolo's something, the early Scorpion suspensions. Do any of you guys know?
I know Scorpion had their own, pretty much patent, and the Scorpions were really fast on the grass with their rollers in it and everything like that. I don't know what else they had after that, but
because it was kind of a combination bogey wheels and slide rail. It was kind of a mix
Correct.
Of both, and they called it Rolo something, and I might be confusing that with what Jim is talking about, or what Scott's talking about. Also, Steve Gardner has sent us these cool images. This is some artwork that he's done. He did some incredible artwork. Check this out. I'm going to show a couple more here.
Nice.
And this is on a saw blade. Some Massey Ferguson ski whizzes on a saw blade. And then he's done this clock. So very cool. We thank you so much for sharing that, Steve. To the viewers, please share some love for Steve, make some comments and some compliments for him on this incredible artwork that he's done. We'll pop these up again so we can get another look at them. But yeah, thank you so much, Steve, for sharing those. We really appreciate that. So yeah, the announcements are now officially out of the way. We're going to go to item number 4 now. We've got an interview with Guy Peterson. You want to talk that up and set that up for us, Jeff?
Guy Peterson showed up at the reunion, and he was hesitant about coming to the reunion. He thought it's going to be, a little bit of a social thing like that. But Jeff Gall is, he's brought together these sleds. He picked some of them up from Neil down in the Iowa area, and these Mercuries, like I say, some of them are original race sleds, and some are clones that were brought back to look at the position that they're in now up at the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. But Guy Peterson, like I say, he was a racer. In his interview explains all the places that he raced for and things like that. But go ahead and run it, guys. Quite the guy.
Excellent. Let's check it out.
This is Jeff. I'm out here with Snow Tracks today at the reunion for Tripar, and run into a couple of drivers that were invited down. And this is Guy Peterson. Guy, when did you get into snowmobiling?
I started in 1967.
1967. And when did you start racing?
I was racing already back then. I had a Skidoo 8-horse. I started with a Skidoo 8-horse, moved up to a 370. That was a big runner back in those days, 1969. And then I went to work in Superior, Wisconsin. Went to work for a snowmobile company there. And they had a race team, and they sponsored us, and we started racing from there. So it was a Red Diamond team. I went from there to Halverson's team in Duluth, to Tony Avi had a team in Hurley, Wisconsin, and then I went to race for Mercury.
So how did you get the itch to end up on a Mercury sled?
Doug Hayes kind of sold me and talked me into that one, but I'm glad I did, because the machine was a great machine. I wish they just would have produced them a lot longer than they did.
Correct. Okay. Hey, did you have a good day today at the reunion?
I had a great day. I wasn't real fired up when I got here. I thought, this will be so-so, but very compelling. A lot of tears were shed. I was impressed with the speeches. I met a lot of old friends, and that's the name of the game.
Right. Thanks very much, Guy. Guy Peterson, one of the big racer drivers that's been invited to the Tripar reunion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is very cool. And like he's talking about, it's really powerful to be reunited with all of these old friends from 40, 50 years ago. That's got to be an amazing experience.
Yeah, and then like I say, we invited as many people that we could think of that raced on Mercury's last year, and got them to come to the reunion. And the thing about it, they weren't Tripar members, but you got to talk to these guys. They worked their butt off, and Mercury advanced a lot of people's racing backgrounds. I mean, it was a sled that, if you had a Mercury, you were going to be in there somewhere, Yeah. And the thing is, there was only 2 real factory drivers, the Stan and Doug Hayes. Mm-hmm. The rest, though, but see, like I say, Mercury, and this goes into, I think the next interview is, the next interview was Doug Hayes, but they took the guy in 74, Tommy Wehner, and that's coming up in 2 interviews.
We can play that one next.
Okay, let's play that one next. But yeah, they went to Tommy and said, he had a background of testing sleds and Mercuries and stuff. And they said, we really need a support team for these independent racers. So Tom would kind of hand pick and help these people along. So if you were a competitor and you were up in there, he'd help you out with parts or whatever you needed to get the job done. So that's where the support part of it came in. Mercury didn't just look at the 2 factory drivers. It turned into a support team. I mean, and then you had other people like Brad Hewlings come in, I couldn't compete against a guy. I weighed 285 pounds. He went soaking wet, maybe 100 pounds,
Sure.
But it all made us kind of a level playing field with this Mercury sled. But yeah, if you want to play, we'll skip the Hayes one, do that one next. But the interview with Tommy Wehner is very interesting. That he was a support team. There's also a picture. I don't know if you see that support truck picture up there someplace.
Yes,
in there.
Let me pull that up. Where the heck was that? Right here.
Yeah, that was that. I don't want to make it fun, but we had some quite hairdos back in those days. But that's Tommy Wehner standing up in the front there. I really don't know. I know the other two guys, but I can't off the top of my head think of their names right offhand. And that's what happens when you got to do these shows. You can't remember everybody. That with age you start to get a little bit of a lose a memory. But
yeah, for sure.
It was Mercury's idea to support the independent.
That's cool. Yeah, let's take a look at that interview with Tom here real quick.
Hey, this is Jeff. I'm at the Tripar reunion. Ran into a little of the factory support, Tom Wehner. Tom, when did you start getting into snowmobiling?
Well, Jeff, back as a first test driver in 1967, and I was the first test driver for Mercury.
How old were you when you first started riding, though?
First started riding?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we used to do a lot of sturgeon spearing on Lake Winnebago. And the family bought an old 12-horsepower Kohler Artie Cat Panther.
There you go.
Yeah, and that was my first ride, but there we used it for work. We weren't really racing.
Right. You kind of summarized in your talk today about how you got involved with Mercury. Can you just summarize it again a little bit and how you became support?
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you're looking back, you kind of wonder how things happen, but actually it all started here, Jeff. I was racing supermods and open class machines for several years, and then I had a chance to buy a stock twister. Never ran stock in my life. I did back in the 400 area, made some money, was always up there in points. Ended up earning a gold bib in stock D, and all I can say was it was just fun racing. But the numbers were big, which meant the payout was terrific. So I paid for my sled the first race, had a great time, had a good career that year racing. And my friend Lyle Forsgren said, Tom, you know what you got to do? You got to help more independent racers. If a big guy like you can run stockers like you did, you can give those guys a lot of support. So I ended up with the in charge of the support, and it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
Super. I appreciate all you did. You backed me when I was doing my racing program and stuff. So, again, thank you, Tommy, and I appreciate you taking the time with us to speak to us today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. In fact, before we go any further, I want to get caught up on comments because they're coming in hot and heavy here.
That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Paul Hall, he's talking about those paintings from Steve. He's saying some cool paintings. Also, Old Skidoo 2 is saying nice work, Steve. So it's good to see Steve getting some compliments on those nice paintings. Now, David from Alaska Railroad is saying he had a 74 Roloflex with a brown hood, powered by a 440 Yamaha. The engine vibrated so bad, the engine cooling shroud cracked around the bolts and fell off. Wow. And then Reese Fleury says, great work, Steve, on those paintings. David from Alaska Railroad says, loves the artwork. Very cool. It's nice to see these compliments coming in on those paintings. And then Stacy and Art Fosler, they had a Mercury 1970 250. What a tank it was.
The lead sled.
Yes, the lead sled. Now, is that the one that looked kind of like the front end of a train? Is that? Yeah,
you had a couple of pictures up on your websites this week. Of the 250, and they started with a 150. That there was quite a range in there, but like Lyle says, they weren't allowed anywhere near the twister room.
Sure. So. They wanted to go a totally different direction. Sure. And then do we want to do...
Why did Mercury leave the market?
Nobody really seems to know, but the biggest thing is that Brunswick took over from Keycafer. This is what I was kind of been told. And Brunswick took over. Of course, they got the penny counters, checking it out and seeing what they're doing. And the snowmobile industry didn't look to them as being a place to go. Now, I heard words that, in 76, that was the last of the front spring suspension snowmobiles before they went into IFS, because, of course, Polaris, the next year kind of took over the stock classes with the IFS. And that there was some looking at that and things going on with that. When we get into the pictures, you'll see up at the Hall of Fame, there's a trail twister in the back. That was Lyle's last push.
No, that's not it.
No, that's not. It's in the way in the back corner, but we do the walk around. That's Chuck Burns. The picture that's up there right now, just a little bit. That's Chuck Burns. He was the first driver. That's on his grass sled there. I have to say, sadly, Chuck passed away before we got the sleds up to the Union up there to the International Hall of Fame. And we had a celebration of life and had a bunch of the team members get together. But it's a sad deal. He was really excited for it. His cancer came back. And, of course, you can only battle it so long before you lose your life. So.
That's too bad. But, that's sad that he missed it, too.
I'm sure Mark and Don, his brother-in-laws, are watching on the podcast today. And, they were very close to him. And so a memorial to him, Chuck Mertz. In fact, I probably got a picture. You can see back here. I got a picture of him.
Yes.
That we use. So
very nice. Very nice.
So if you want to talk about the next interview is Doug
Hayes, I think. Let me pop that up on the screen here. Yeah, let's take a look.
Hi, it's Jeff. I'm at the Tripar reunion here with Mr. Hayes. Mr. Hayes, when did you start getting into snowmobiling?
My family got into snowmobiling. Actually, the first ride was probably in 1963. And after that, the whole family was hooked, and then my dad became a Polaris dealer in 1964.
So your first sleds that you actually got into was racing. What was it?
We were a Polaris dealer, and we had a sled on loan from Polaris to try to sell at the dealership. And Alan Hateen called my dad and asked him if he'd bring it to Dollar Lake because they're having a race there, and that Stanley could race it if he brought it there.
Super. And so then after the Polaris, it was drawn, that was a Skidoo, I take it, right?
After 64, then Dick Fisher, a salesman from Skidoo, stopped by and talked Dad into taking Skidoo on over Polaris. Dad was kind of filled up with the Polaris Comet model that was so much trouble. He didn't want to do anything with the Comet model anymore, so he decided to take on Skidoo and try those.
And today at the reunion, you told us a little bit how you got involved with Mercury. You could just kind of summarize how you ended up on a Mercury.
Right. Well, I ended up on a Mercury because my dad's first cousin, Lou Dyson, worked with John Hull, and who was president of Mercury Snowmobile Division in the USSA. And John would have Lou look at some pre-prototype stuff that they were working on occasionally. And when they had the 400 ready to go, John Hull called Lou, Paul Spencer, and myself to come down and look at it, made us a proposal to race it, and we accepted, and the rest is history.
Yeah, super. Hey, great job today on what you told us all about, the background of how the Crandon boys got involved with Mercury. Appreciate you coming down and sharing your time with us. Anything else you got to say for the Tripar reunion?
It's just been the last 3 years I haven't missed it, so I will not miss it. It's just too much fun to get together with everybody and visit the people we haven't seen for 40 plus years. It's been great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye.
Very cool. Anything you wanted to add to that, Jeff? Or?
Yeah, and like I said, your two factory riders were this, Hayeses, and they got to test and make things. And he told us some stories of stuff that they made that they tried on their race sleds, with titanium and all the other things that were used in those days in the Snow Pro series, and the way they did things in the testing. And even when Lyle built that first Twister, they had no place to really test it. I understand from listening to these guys talk, and that's what I do. I kind of sneak up behind them and put my microphone out, and I'll video record them, or and then get permission from them to use it or whatever. But they actually flew a Twister, I guess, up to Alaska so they could test it on a lake.
Wow! So
that they knew that they had something to work with before they started putting that 73 or 74 or 400 together. Which again, he started back in 72 on it already.
Wow!
So. But going back again to Tripar, Jeff Gall took the initiative to bring this all back together, and it's lit a fire.
It looks like it's getting incredible momentum.
And I'm glad to see that he stepped up and he wanted to do this to go to the Hall of Fame. It's there for a year. People can go look at it, and we got some more pictures you can go ahead and show. And just a little bit, as I did a walk around. As you can look there to the right there, that Team Tripar sled there was Scott Abraham. He was a big 250 rider. He actually campaigned on the 245 Skidoo RV. The next sled, number 2 there, it was the Stanky sled. Roxanne Stanky ran that, and her son set a record on a half-mile track for a 250. And it's in the article. You need to see that article that's in the Vintage magazine that helps support you. The next one, the 519 back there, that was Chuck Burns' grass sled. The Trail Twister is Lyle's deal to do with a long track for off trail.
Yeah.
The one in the middle, and actually, if you see the picture and behind that one in the middle, way in the back, that's me. That's my last race in 1980 at Eagle River.
Nice.
And the one is a prototype, and the other one is the liquid cooled in the middle to the front. That's the sled that Chuck Burns restored, and we all signed it. The one in the back corner there, was a Hollis sled. That's a special 400 motor in there, and the whole sled is completely lowered. The 14 sled is Denny Hughes. Now, a story about Denny Hughes is that he couldn't race in 76. That he got hurt up at International Falls, Minnesota. We were all out on the test track testing, and he took a spill and he separated his shoulder, so he couldn't race. Well, there was another racer who was a good racer from Oshkosh, Chuck Ross, ended up getting on Denny's sleds and campaigning on Denny's sleds all year. And Chuck came away with like bib 5 or 6 the next year in a gold bib. The 473 is Rex Million's sled, and I'm kind of partial to the 3510. That's my brother's sled. That's what he campaigned on in 1975. It was a 340. We really ran good at International Falls, Minnesota, and a couple other places. We had a buddy by the name of Bob Platt. He campaigned down in the Southern Wisconsin Racing Association, and he won quite a few of those classes. But you got to remember, back in those days, it was nothing to have 130, 140 people entered into a race. So if you made the final, you definitely were working at it to make that sled go.
Yeah, that's cool. And let's take a look at one more image here, and then we're going to have to start thinking about wrapping up here. But any quick thoughts on this here? Is that Chuck on the left?
That's Chuck on the left, and then behind is my brother, and then Denny Hughes is the next one that's kind of closest to us, and those are all other drivers that were Tripar drivers at one point in time.
Nice.
So,
and then a couple other quick comments on these photos here. Now, 3510, I think you talked about.
That's my brother's sled, and that's the 75 sled he campaigned on in 74, 75. International Falls, Minnesota, we raced. Alexandria, Minnesota. I liked getting out of school to go to these. Like I said, I was 15 years old. So.
Oh yeah, you're loving that.
Yep.
Cool deal. And then this is Chuck as well, I think, isn't it?
This is Chuck Burns, and he was really dedicated to the Tripar team. He was the first driver, and it's sad that he did not get to see this all happen. Mark, his brother-in-law, was up there when we were putting the sleds in there, and he says, he's looking down on us. He sees this. He was really excited for this to happen. So,
yeah, he's looking down from above on this with a big smile, I'm sure.
The thing is, at the reunion, nobody knew anything about what was going on. I mean, he kept it very private, and
sure,
it was really sad to hear about it.
Yeah,
so, and Jeff Gall was the person that they let know, and Jeff, this is hard on him. He's the one that called Bubba. And Bubba's the one that was actually like the team manager and ran the team. Had to call him and let him know that Chuck had passed away.
Wow, yeah, that's sad.
So if it wasn't for Jeff Gall bringing us all together, none of these guys done it. But like I said, again, it's brought this great feeling back into it. Meeting all these old guys who we used to race against.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing to be reunited with everyone like that. And then, speaking of which, here's some images of some of the people making comments.
Right, that was Wehner, Doug Hayes, and then there was another guy that got up there and spoke. And you heard them guys talk about tears in their eyes. Well, the kid, he was a kid at the time, didn't know his dad very well, but his dad bought him this twister, and he raced, and he produced quite a few wins in the junior class. And his dad worked at Mercury, and they said, "Well, why'd you buy that sled for your kid?" Because I knew my kid had it in it, but the kid didn't know all the things behind it. But coming to these reunions, he's learned a lot about his dad. So
that's amazing. So much good comes from this.
Yes,
that is cool.
And that's why we wanted to share this podcast with you, so that we can get people to come up to the Hall of Fame in St. Germain, Wisconsin, We're going to have that big reunion August 19th, 2023. So
nice. Well, cool. Yeah, the program has come around to the end so quickly. We're going to have a Christmas moment here in a second. I want to just take a few quick comments here. Kevin Culhane says, picked up an all-original 74 last month with 418 miles on it. Still has the foam on the foot pegs. Imagine that. Stacy and Art Fosler say they want to know what the top speed was of the Mercury. Must be this twister.
Well, that all depends where you were racing. If you're racing at Newburgh, Wisconsin, and USSA, you probably didn't get speeds of 80 miles an hour. Eagle River, you'd probably push 90, maybe 100. I might be exaggerating on that. I can't really say, but it's not so much about the speed; it was how it handled. I mean, the sled was lightweight. It handled. The 76 was ergonomically set up to go around the corners.
That's what made it so formidable. Sure.
Right.
And then Paul Hall says he found a 1980 Jag 340 free air with 208 kilometers on it, about 120 miles. We've also got someone wanting to know if these sleds are in St. Germain, Wisconsin at this time.
Yes, they've been up there since October. They're going to be there for 1 year. And if you're in the area, you need to get in and see the display. Also, a little kick for the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame runs on all donations. So to keep the lights and the heat on up there, make a donation when you go in, keep these places going, same as these other museums, because somewhere down the road, this snowmobile fury is going to come to an end, and people aren't going to realize what we all had.
Yeah, that's true. And then someone saying, hello, Mike, and someone else saying he's got his 76 Twister. They were ahead of their time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, transitioning perfectly into the Christmas, David from Alaska Railroad says, hi, Daisy Lou. Looking great. Daisy Lou is the official mascot of the podcast. In fact, let me remove this banner. There we go. Yeah, Daisy Lou is all Christmased up. We gotta love it. All right, so I've been teasing everyone here about having a Christmas moment here at the end, and let me get to where I need to be for that. And the Christmas moment is this, basically. I've got some images that I've downloaded over the years that are Christmas related. Some of them are ads, and some of them are just things that were on people's profile. But let's just, our Christmas moment is this, to go kind of look through them and have a moment. I think this is an old moto ski with some Christmas lights on it. And then I don't know if this was a Ski-Doo ad or if someone just did this, but kind of a cool looking thing to see.
I used it on my Do Talk ad.
Nice. Very cool. So if you look out the window on Christmas Eve, you may see Santa going by like that on an old Ski-Doo. And then there's an old Arctic-Cat ad. And then I think this one is from a record album, but I don't know any more about it. It's a Judge Strings or something.
It looks like a moto ski also.
Yes, I think you're right. And then we've got an old Scorpion. I don't know if that's an ad or if that's what that was, or if off a calendar or something. And then my favorite one I'm saving for the last. It's this one. I don't know who did this or who made this, but I found it somewhere online, and I just think it's beautiful. It really captures what things were like back in the day, snowmobiling.
Yeah, get on there, kneel down, put the hat on, and away you went.
Yes.
But for wherever you rode, you end up fixing for 2 hours after that.
Yes, true. Yeah. Repair 2 hours to ride for one. But yeah, we're coming up to the top of the hour, so we're going to wind down the program. But yeah, thank you, Jeff and Rob, for coming on tonight, and Merry Christmas. Thank you also to the viewers. Merry Christmas to everyone. We're going to be running reruns the next couple of weeks because I need a little break for the holidays. Just with everything going on, it's just I need a little break. But I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, and we'll look forward to catching up with you guys. I think it's January 5th. Let me look at the calendar here. January 5th, yeah. But
well, I want to thank you, Mike, for having me on and letting me promote this Tripar deal and this racers reunion. Again, we like to get aerial racers from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, whatever, come up to St. Germain in the third week in August, and there is a block available at the American Inn Hotel in Monaco, Wisconsin. So, again, appreciate it, and I hope that this night, talking about Twisters, 50 years it is now, and can bring back some experiences for people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And Rob, any final words?
Great show, Mike, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Cool deal.
Good to meet you, Jeff.
Happy holidays.
I'd like to hear the Twister stories.
Oh, I could tell you a lot more.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on another time for round 2. Absolutely. Well, cool. As always, last word goes to AMSOIL, and Merry Christmas to one and all. Hello, everyone. This is Rob and Mike. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing good. Mike, yourself?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Now, today, we're going to be talking about AMSOIL. And in a few moments, we're going to show you how you can get the deepest discounts, free shipping, and free gifts when you order your AMSOIL products through us. But first, I'm going to ask Rob to give you a quick description of what AMSOIL is and why you should consider using AMSOIL products in your motorized vehicles.
Thanks, Mike. AMSOIL is 100% synthetic oil. Everybody uses AMSOIL for a different reason. Some people like the benefits that AMSOIL is warranted for 25,000 miles or 1 year. The reason we can do that is because AMSOIL doesn't oxidize. It doesn't form the usual carbons, gums, sludges like petroleum oils do. That's why we can keep it in the engines longer. Petroleum oils never do wear out. They oxidize themselves. That's why they have to be changed at 3,000 kilometers. And AMSOIL likes the benefit that you only have to change the oil once a year. That saves some money. Some of the people like the benefit of AMSOIL is it's a slipperier type lube. By having a slipperier type lube, it cuts down friction and drag. By less friction and drag, engines run 20 to 50 degrees cooler, better gas mileage. Now, AMSOIL says 25% more protection than the industry requires is in the AMSOIL bottles. My average customer gets about 10% increase in gas mileage. That's a big savings.
Yeah.
And by cutting down friction and drag, for every 10 degrees you cut down the friction and drag, doubles the life of the engine. So by having the engine run cooler, it makes it last longer. Some people like the benefit of the range of the AMSOIL. AMSOIL's flash point is 425 degrees, and it pours at 50 below zero. Wow. If you ever try petroleum oil when it's 10 below, it turns to honey. And in the summertime, petroleum oil thins out, and once it thins out, that's when it starts breaking down. So AMSOIL is an all-season oil, can give you better gas mileage, longer engine life, less maintenance. It ends up being cheaper over a year's time running AMSOIL than it is petroleum oils.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And AMSOIL is available for pretty much any motorized vehicle, anything from lawn equipment, cars, trucks, boats, ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles.
Yep. And a lot of people phone me up and say, well, what's the benefit of our gear lube? Exactly what I told you about the engine oil. It pours in cold weather, it runs cooler, makes the equipment last longer. And they say, well, what's the benefit of the small engine? Same thing. Makes the engine run cooler, last longer, better performance. So it saves on all the applications that AMSOIL has available.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, let's talk now. Hopefully this has convinced people to think about maybe joining us in the AMSOIL experience. Let's talk about some of the discounts and free shipping and how that all happens. I'm going to pop a graphic on the screen. And by all means, if you want to talk people through how this preferred customer program works.
AMSOIL has a number of different programs. One of our main ones is a catalog customer, where somebody can order directly out of our catalog. If they order out of the catalog, they order $100 worth, AMSOIL will ship it right to their house. But our best program is our preferred customer. For only $10 for 6 months, you become a preferred customer, you save 25% on all the product. You order $100 worth, they're going to give you free shipping. You don't have to order a whole case. You can mix and match. Say you want 4 bottles of small engine, 7 bottles of 5W30, and a couple of gear loops. You can mix and match. You can order 1 bottle at a time if you want. There's no minimums, no maximums. By being a preferred customer, you save over 25% on all the products you're going to buy. AMSOIL sends you extra gifts, a $5 gift certificate on your birthday, $5 when you renew your account, and stuff like that. So it's a good way to save on some of the products you want to buy.
For sure. Yeah, it's an incredible value. And this is the deepest level of discount that anyone can get when ordering AMSOIL. Is that correct?
It is.
Wonderful. So let's take people through the step-by-step experience of placing an AMSOIL order. Then that would include signing up for the preferred customer preferred customer program, so they can receive those deepest levels of discount. So let's go to the website. This is what the website's going to look like. These are some screenshots. Once you go to AMSOIL.com, there's a link in the description, or you can just type that into a browser, AMSOIL.com. This is the page you land on. At the upper corner of the page there, you see how I've circled in red. That is the link to click, the Join Now link. That will take you to the Preferred Customer Program page, where you can take advantage of all of these discounts and free shipping and everything that we've just been talking about. This is what that page looks like. In the lower right, you're going to click Join Now. This will pop up. You select the duration you'd like, whether it's 6 months or 12 months, and click Add to Cart. Now, once this pop-up goes away, you'll be back on the main page. And the upper left, you'll see where I've got that red arrow. It says Shop. Now you can start shopping for products, and on your very first order, you're going to get these discounts and the free shipping as long as it's over $100. You'll get all of these benefits right away. So once you click shop, it's going to take you to the product page. There's different types of oils, lubricants, so on and so forth. For the benefit of this exercise we're doing now, I'm just going to click motor oil. It shows different types of motor oil. Let's click gasoline. Now this takes us to an item. It's their synthetic motor oil. And you can see the item there, and there's choices for different viscosities. But take a look at the price. Let's take a closer look. Let's zoom in. But if you've joined the preferred customer program first, you're going to automatically get the deepest levels of discount. That's what we're looking at here. You're saving $3.80 on that quart of oil. Instead of paying $16.29, you're now paying $12.49 for that quart of oil. That is the deepest level of discount you can possibly get. And then you just add the quantity that you'd like. You select any other items that you're thinking about, add them to the cart. And once you click add to cart for the final time, you're going to see this come up at the top of the screen. It's going to show your items and your the total that you're at so far. Pardon me. And then you just click view cart in the upper right, and that'll take you to your cart. Take a close look here at the upper right. That blue box shows that you're getting free shipping. You're eligible for free shipping on this order because it's over $100. That little yellow box shows that you've got the preferred customer membership on your order that gives you the deepest levels of discounts for the next 6 to 12 months. And then below that, you've got the items that have been selected. For the exercise here, I selected 9 quarts of the signature series, but that brings us up over $100 for the free shipping. We're saving $34.20. And if you're ready to finish, you click checkout now, and that takes you to this screen here. If you haven't signed up with an AMSOIL account at this point, just click in the lower right to create an account, create a new account. It's going to ask you for some basic information, name and those types of things. Now let's take a closer look. You'll see this gray shaded box. This is a very important box. This is going to ask you if someone has referred you to AMSOIL. And if so, please enter my name. My name is Mike Lapierre. It's spelled right there on the screen for the correct spelling. And also the referral number, 304-555-94. That's how you make sure that Rob and I get credit for this. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I have signed up for AMSOIL under Rob. So when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. So if you enjoy these podcasts that we're doing, this is a wonderful way to support the podcast, because when you order using this referral number, Rob and I both benefit. And the commissions I make go directly toward offsetting the cost of doing these podcasts. So I thank you in advance for that, for using my referral number. I very much appreciate it. And once you've done that, you just go into the next screen to enter your payment information, and you're done. Now, once you've placed your order that's over $100, and that order includes your AMSOIL preferred customer program, you are now eligible to get a free DVD from myself. Now, this is going to be either a muscle car DVD or a vintage snowmobile DVD. Use the email address on the screen, wkspodcasts@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let me know which DVD you would like me to send you, the muscle car or the vintage snowmobile DVD, and I'll get that right out to you. As you're typing in that email, in the subject line, be sure and type in capital letters, free DVD requests, so it stands out as I'm checking my email, and we'll get that right out to you. So I guess the last thing, Rob, that we wanted to talk about is if someone is considering AMSOIL as a business opportunity.
Yes. If anybody has a retail or a commercial account and they would like to buy directly from AMSOIL, just send Mike a line. He'll show you how to set up, and you can buy directly from AMSOIL. But if you are interested in starting your own part-time business, a part-time business that can grow into a full-time income, Mike and I will show you the AMSOIL marketing plan. AMSOIL has a large selection of products that cover almost every application. So it doesn't matter if you're into snowmobile, boating, or ATVing, or hot rods. We have an oil for every application. It's a fun type business that's I really enjoy doing. Where else can I go and have fun and make money doing it? And Mike and I are here to help you all the way along. If you need any help on how to promote or to find new accounts, we're here to help you.
For sure. So when you sign up under that number, this 304-555-94, you're getting Rob and I as a team. Now, Rob has been doing AMSOIL for 40 years. Can you believe that? 40 years. So he knows every aspect of this business, and he knows all of the ins and outs of the products. So he'll be able to help you with any kind of product questions or any kind of questions to show you the different business models that you can do with AMSOIL. And then the other thing that you get when you sign up under me is I've got a strong background in social media. So if you need some coaching on how to generate AMSOIL leads using Facebook and YouTube, I'm happy to coach you with that when you sign up under Rob and I. You get both of us as a team to help you, to coach you, to support you, whatever you need to get you off and running with this business and having fun with it. Like Rob said, it's an enormous amount of fun. If you're like Rob and I and you enjoy going to any kind of boat shows, car shows, motorcycle shows, snowmobile shows, anything with a motor, you like going to those shows, those events, those races, this is a great way to turn that into a income opportunity for you.
Yes. And just by wearing my AMSOIL hat at one of these events, people come up and ask me about AMSOIL. People don't know where to buy it, and I'm there to help them, show them where they can buy the product. Perfect.
Well, cool. Well, this is great. Any final thoughts, Rob, before we wrap it up?
AMSOIL is a fun business. AMSOIL's been around since 1968. It was the first synthetic oil to be AI approved.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's very early in the game too, isn't it?
Yes.
For sure. Well, good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for viewing. Hopefully, we've gotten you excited as we are about the AMSOIL products. We'd love it if you could join us either as someone who uses the AMSOIL products or to join the AMSOIL team as a business opportunity. And we thank you so much for viewing. Have a great day.
You have a good day.